You are listening to the Nightly News Podcast, the voice of the Knights.
Welcome everybody to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I am so honored. This is probably my favorite podcast that we've ever done, and that's saying something considering how many we've done over the years. And I have the opportunity to sit down with not only my esteemed colleague, Professor Michael Lear-Limpy, but also two of our 4 Hall of Fame inductees during homecoming weekend. We are here just after the the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and we will be chatting today with Andrew Hunter and Jenelle Dulack, and of course, later on in the episode, we'll be chatting with Abbee, Breski, and Dylan Bowman. So, welcome everyone to the show. Andrew, congratulations.
Thank you. I didn't think I would ever be a Hall of Famer.
You know, it's so funny. A lot of people ask me, do you know that I'm not a Hall of Famer in anything? So you've got that on me. And are you a Hall of Famer, Professor Limpy?
Not that I'm aware.
Maybe someday, and hopefully it's not posthumous, but maybe someday we'll be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But no, in all honesty, it's my absolute honor, and we'll reiterate some of the things that we talked about today, but really just want to have you guys here to have the opportunity to talk about what this has meant to you. So, Andrew, again, thank you for being here.
Anytime, yeah.
All right, and Jenelle Dulack. Jenelle, it's not been quite as long as it has been for some others because you recently just joined us. You had your whole own episode of the Nightly News Podcast, and not only that, you were a big part of something that President Noah Lopez was doing with the East Pennsboro Historical Society. You did one of your On the Bright Side pieces, unfortunately one of your last On the Bright Side pieces for Fox 43, as you have since moved to bigger and better things in Washington, D.C., so welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So we'll talk to you a little bit more about that specific situation because as a postscript to our previous episode, but then we'll talk really about you guys. And of course, Professor Limpy, not always do we have the opportunity to have Professor Limpy on the show, but most certainly it's always a wonderful experience to have Mike on.
Well, thank you. It's a wonderful experience being on.
Okay, well, where do we start? Other than saying that these days are always really emotional. And it's hard not to, because in a sense today was so important. And I don't want to say that any one is more important than another, because that's not fair to anyone. But today was also the theme of 10 years. 10 years, a decade of excellence, as we say on our updated logo for the year. And today, having everybody there really was able to reflect upon not only the early days, but how we got to where we are today. And I made this point in my introduction, is it's all on the backs of all of you and the people who would come before you. So people like Christine Fusselman, who maybe in terms of quantity may not have a lot and often undersells herself when she talks about the club. But if it wasn't for people like her, this opportunity might not have been there for you, all the way through to Andrew, our most recent graduate, who, just over a year later, you just slid in under the wire. And because we do have requirements that this isn't just some fly-by-night organization. We do have requirements for Hall of Famers, and it means that you have been out of school for at least a year, which you have, and you have as well, Jen. So it's just such an honor. So I want to not only ask you a few questions about today's experience, but I also want to allow Professor Limpy as well to ask a few questions too. So Professor Limpy, I'm going to kick it to you. Let's start off with a question that might be suitable for both students.
Yeah, for either one of you. What would you say, really in a nutshell, if you could just right away think of an experience, you have a memory of some way that being a member of the Nightly News Club helped you in what you're doing now and even in college?
I have it.
There you go.
Just like I said in my acceptance speech, it gave me such a huge opportunity to work in the athletic department. Mm-hmm. That's probably the best part of the Nightly News. It gives you more opportunities than just writing stories. Without finding my passion in sports, I don't think I would probably be in the Nightly News Hall of Fame or any type of athletic job.
That's great. Well, we're happy and proud to offer that opportunity.
And Andrew is somewhat unique in regards to, and I if you would have seen the look on Parker's face when I told him, because he's always had that, he's the only Hall of Famer that wasn't a comm student, and I said, well, I've got some bad news for you. Andrew also was not a communication student, though you were a minor, right?
Yeah, that
you
was
were a
my
comm
minor.
media minor, which I didn't. He wasn't even a comm minor, so you were comm adjacent, right?
Yeah.
But the thing about you, Andrew, is you were one of the biggest go-getters on campus, and it's people like you, folks like you, that we tend to gravitate to with the nightly news because it does open opportunities. And what's so unique about what we do, and this is one of our big selling points, is tell us what you want to do. Like, how do you want to be involved? Sometimes, I'm sure you guys both remember the meetings, we might pitch a couple stories. In fact, the legal studies mock trial was a story that we'd pitched and you jumped on. But for the most part, it's what is interesting to you? How can you bring your own interests and help us amplify that? So again, I appreciate it, and of course, you gravitated right to sports, and you've some of the best articles that we've ever had sports-wise have come from you, and of course, just being there and being a part of our broadcast team, man. I just those are the memories I have of you. So, yeah. Jen,
I think like the beginning conversations of where I was going to take myself after starting college. I spoke about it earlier today at the Hall of Fame celebration, but really, I came into college expecting to be a physical therapy assistant and expected to walk out with the same idea that I was going to be in the medical profession. I was going to be helping people physically, not necessarily with my words or my eye for creativity, but I was able to do that by having a conversation with both of you guys, just saying, here's what I used to do. Here's the things that I used to be passionate about, and I want to rekindle that passion. And you're like, oh, duh, you should be doing communications. It was like a no-brainer to you guys. To me, it was like a light bulb went off. Like, oh, I can do that. That's an opportunity. It's not just a thing I can do for fun, picking up my camera and taking a picture or video. It's something I can do as a profession, and you guys have guided me towards that light. So,
Jen, I remember vividly the conversation. In fact, I believe Janet connected us. And one of the things that I've said for a while is I do think that we should have somebody help transition students. And again, I know that this is asking a lot and maybe even unusual for higher education as a whole, but not everybody, and a lot of people come to school thinking they're going to do one thing, kind of dip their toe and realize it's not for them, but they also may not know what the next step is. Now, I was so fortunate enough that I had the opportunity to talk to you, but I can't even think of how many students over the years that, if they could have had some guidance, could have found that passion and maybe wouldn't have moved forward with a major that they didn't value. And that's what I appreciate about you. And I just know that I could just tell, like, the creativity that you had just didn't seem suited to the healthcare field. Healthcare is one of these very regimented, there is a certain protocol for doing things. That just didn't seem like you, even from the first time that I had the chance to talk to you. So yeah. I just appreciate and value that time that I got to spend with you. And even afterward, I brought this up. One of my fondest memories of being a professor was just getting to see you in action at Fox and being at Fox 43 and getting to, you introduced me to the team. It was I had so much pride. It was, I was introduced to somebody who I admired, one of the on-air hosts, Gabrielle Mediak, as, oh, so this is the person that Jen talks about all the time. And I almost had to excuse myself out of the room because I thought I was going to break down right in front of, these people. And I didn't, and I held it together. But I will never forget that day as long as I live. And it was so rewarding because you want to talk about full circle. I was one of the folks that had this conversation with you about getting into this industry, and now you're one of the most successful students that's ever come out of our program. And frankly, I was sad when you told me that you were leaving.
I was sad that I was leaving too. I mean, I loved Fox 43. I loved working there. I loved the people there, and I grieved heavily when I left. I know that the newsroom is where I belong. I remember in conversations with Olympi when we were doing all sorts of writing journalism classes, and he would tell me about his experience at the Inquirer.
The Philadelphia Inquirer, not the National.
Right. And other places, yeah.
And other places, but just having conversations about that and almost feeling like jealous. Like I want to be there. I want to be in the action. And funny enough, years later, I'm posting something on my LinkedIn like, hey guys, was just at a fire, and Olympi's commenting, isn't it great feeling to be the first? It's funny the way how it's completely gone circular, like you said, where I dreamt about being in that environment, and then I was in it and I just absorbed every little bit of it. I wanted to learn everything from directing to coding shows to writing shows to scripting to anchoring to videography, everything I could do, and I did. Now I am granted the wonderful opportunity of living in Washington, D.C., which is right now the best time to work there as a journalist because it's so
On fire, basically?
It's a tumultuous environment. And
Well said.
right now, again, as somebody who just seeps creativity, I must create. I leave my house and I go to protest, not to protest, but to take pictures for the sake of documenting history. The No Kings protest is happening this weekend. I know my partner will be covering it as a news media person, and I'll be covering it as a citizen journalist. I have to. It's just something that's ingrained in what I feel like is my duty.
That's amazing, and I hope someday that all of this is, there are outlets now that maybe didn't exist a decade ago that you could self-publish these types of things, or, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You obviously are very, very wise. But I want to just ask you one more question before I follow up with something I talked about Andrew and something major he's got going on. What was it like for you to watch that West Shore Connect video?
Nostalgic. It's funny because I didn't remember exactly what role I played in it until I rewatched that video.
You were only the director, Jen.
Only the director, I know. But for some reason in the recesses of my memory, I remember having conversations with Dylan Bowman about how are we going to get the shot between the trees when they're walking past? I was imagining the imagery, and I know that Dylan was capturing it, but it's almost like the rest of that kind of faded out because it was pretty seamless. If it was difficult, I would definitely remember it. And then to watch it back and be like, oh, right. I remember framing this shot and having discussions with people well, how are we going to do these interviews? Where are these people going to sit? How can we get these people to have a natural conversation so it doesn't look staged? All of those things, it flooded back when I saw that video.
Just, I watch that every so often because of nostalgia purposes myself, but I got to be honest, it's something that I am so proud of, not only just because I got to work with amazing folks, but because it benefits an organization that I so strongly believe in, and it really has had a pretty significant impact on my career here at Central Penn College. So I'm going to ask everyone that today. Andrew, I have got to ask you. Now, I know that we've talked personally, but we've not talked on the air yet. So Andrew comes up to me so nonchalantly. This is the funny thing about all of this, right? He comes up to me nonchalantly. He's like, this is how he says it. He says, we're trying to break a record for the longest pickleball match. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, what, 6-7 hours? He's like, 48 hours. And then he did not point out initially that it is a Guinness Book of World Records record. Andrew, first of all, where in the world? Obviously, I know you're a pickleball player, and we have had our conversations about I'm a tennis player, so there's some drama there between tennis players and pickleball players. But no, in all seriousness, where did this idea come from? Tell me a little bit more about how you got all these sponsors that you have. Where did this come from?
Well, I work at Ace Pickleball Club Enola, and one of the members, Steve Lesko, came up to me and was like, we should play pickleball for 2 days straight. Just randomly.
Who thinks that's a good idea?
Well, he's not off, but he has some weird ideas.
Eccentric.
Yes, eccentric. Yeah, it was just I was like, okay, let's do it. I've never played more than 7 hours. 7 hours is still a lot, but that's consistently playing at a high level. But 48 hours, I think, is possible. We get.
I'm just laughing here because
I know.
And I love your positivity.
Yeah.
Can I ask real quick,
yeah.
what constitutes as a match? Are we playing a consecutive volley for 48 hours?
No.
Okay.
It's just individual games.
Good question.
So
that would have been really tough to consecutively volley for that long.
I think they broke it in Montana, and that was, I believe, 34 hours in 5 minutes. They played only, I think, 120 games within that match. So I think we'll be closer to probably 170 in that area for games. But you do get breaks, 5 minutes per hour. And if you don't take those breaks, they stack up. So if you play for 3 hours, you get a 15-minute break. But you have to add that time to the end of your time to catch up.
I'm just trying to envision this. So first of all, we are going to write a story about this. So in the coming weeks, our president, Noah Lopez, and it's funny because you were in the meeting, you came to the meeting the other day, and literally when I pitched it to him, he was instantly on board. And I'm also going to just come down and come in as a patron that weekend. Hopefully, you said you start at 6 a.m. on Black Friday?
Yep, 6 a.m. Black Friday.
I won't be there at 6 a.m. on Black Friday, but I will be there. I promise you I will come down and support you. That's always a day that I keep free on purpose just in case these types of things come up. Man, I give you so much credit and more power to you, man, because just even the thought of doing something like this is insane. What about all these sponsors? You've got all these different sponsors. Tell us more about that.
So I've probably reached out to over 50 companies. We've gotten bites on Purdue Chicken, which is unique. But Head, which is a huge sponsor. There's a couple sponsored players in the area that I know, and I got connected to directly with their sales team. And they're sending us 36 pickleballs, 4 $200 paddles, 8 shirts, and then banners to put up on the fence. So it's going to be big. I hope we get Albany's because I love my gummy bears. Yeah. It's pretty much, we're still, I'm trying to get Sheets as well to get energy drinks because I need energy for 48 hours.
I just can't even imagine staying up that long.
I can't either. What's the record for podcasts with Hall of Famers? Get his book. We'll go for it now.
Oh,
Here we are.
Yeah. No, I'm good on that. I'm not one to stay up till all hours of the night. So we are going to support you. We're going to be there every step of the way, but you're going to have to come on next term and talk to us more about the actual event itself because this I got to hear.
Yeah, best of luck. Best of luck.
And it's going to be live streamed as well, recorded. And we're playing for charities as well. So should be a good time. Help some charities out as well.
This
not
is
just
amazing.
a racket.
No, not just a racket. No.
Mike, any final questions that you have for our Hall of Famers?
No. I was thinking about what Professor Miller was saying about your sports writing. Andrew, always greatly appreciated. Good insight. Columnist-like. It told me a lot of things about what you were writing about. That's for sure. I'm not a major sports fan. And Jen, journalism needs citizen journalists out there helping traditional professional journalists record the chaos to be sure what's going on because journalists who are citizens and not with the news media organization are not as hard to identify by certain groups. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I just want to tell both of you as we sort of wrap up here, it's these days mean so much to me and I know that they mean a lot to you. Just seeing the emotion that both of you had in front of the stage for us and maybe selfishly so, and I never really thought about it this way, but this one really resonated with me so deeply because all of you were so appreciative of both Professor Olympi and I. But this one is one I'll always remember because of it being 10 years. And it was so interesting because really last year at some point, again, you want to talk about a Guinness Book of World Record, it was how long it took us to get this story up. Because it probably took the better part of 9 months to actually get it up, which is fine because the final version of it's terrific. Today was almost like a culmination of my career. And you all are so complimentary and reflexive on the impact that Professor Olympi and I have had to this point and hopefully still continue to have in the future. And I just want you to know that you're always going to be a part of what we are doing with the Nightly News. And as, sort of a postscript here, I didn't have anything prepared for the conclusion today. And I thought something poignant would be helpful, and that's why I read from the story and about how much, while this means this much to you, about what it means to me to be this person for you and about what impact it has on our lives. And I don't want to speak for Professor Olympi because I'm going to give him the floor in a moment, but this has been me here. I was an adjunct for a year or so before we started the Nightly News, but this is what I'm associated with, and in a sense, everything that you guys put out reflects on me, or how you act around campus reflects on myself and Professor Olympi one way or the other. And we couldn't be, or at least I couldn't be, again, I don't want to speak for Professor Olympi, I couldn't be more proud of the wonderful people that you've become. You should be so proud of yourselves. You have a bright, bright, bright future ahead of you, and just remember you've always got two people that if you ever literally need anything, that you better know you can reach out to us.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Professor, any final thoughts?
Always was proud, am proud. Continue. Keep going. I'm sure we'll always be proud because you did have an impact on us. It was not a one-way street. Did a great job. You're doing a wonderful job, and kept me going many times and kept my interest at the desk. So, thanks.
Any final thoughts, Andrew?
I hope I can continue to be part of the nightly news in certain ways. Maybe a little story here, or a podcast, especially about the pickleball.
Oh, you're already on the schedule, buddy.
Good.
That's locked in.
But it was great to be a part of the nightly news as a student, and I'm very honored to be in the Hall of Fame.
And it was such a pleasure to get to meet your family today, and I'm sure that that's going to be something that they will always remember.
They
as
will,
well.
yeah.
Jen, any final thoughts?
I know that people will continue to blow smoke up you guys a million times. It's worth it. But I just want to make sure I say that, like, you know, the way you describe us and the people that have impacted the nightly news, almost like a woven tapestry of people who have written a million stories and continue to tell stories. But like, you guys have laid the foundation literally for the things that Hunter, I, and anybody else who's part of the nightly news create or do. Anytime I edit a story, I'm writing a script, I'm thinking about how the way that Olympia would write it or edit. Anytime I'm thinking about a video, I'm thinking about the way that you would write it or edit it. You guys are the foundation of everything that we create and beyond. So thank you in general.
Well, don't be strangers.
You're welcome.
Of course.
And you know, if we call or email, let us know. Talk to us. Get back to us. It means so much to us because all of you are people that really, really, all my students are wonderful people, don't get me wrong. And I'm going to say the one time something that most professors never should say, but you guys are all my favorites. So, all right. Well, hey, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Nightly News Hall of Famers, Abbee Breski and Dylan Bowman. We'll be right back.
This is Andrew Hunter, Nightly News sports reporter, and you're listening to the Nightly News Podcast.
Welcome back to the Nightly News Podcast. This is a very special episode that I get to talk to our wonderful 4 new Nightly News Hall of Famers as we sit here just after the Nightly News 2025 induction ceremony. We are sitting here with Abbee Breski and Dylan Bowman, 2 people who I actually get to see quite a lot. I get to see Andrew a lot too. Jen, it's not quite as much because now she lives in D.C., but I do want to start off by saying something to Abbee. I know, Abbee, I gave you such a hard time today about the coming. So just a little bit of background. Abbee has now started working back at Central Penn, and she is going to, moving forward, be on the show as one of the people who is orchestrating a lot of the events here on campus. Abbee, number one, we are so happy to have you back here on campus. You had a great job when you got out of school, so I was actually shocked when I heard that you were coming back. And I don't want to belabor that point. Mm-hmm. The point that I do want to belabor, I had to hear it from someone else. Why didn't you talk to me about coming back to school, or at least send me an email? I mean, I don't expect like a red carpet rolled out for me or anything. Tell me about this.
So I was kind of not necessarily up in the air because I love the college and I love any way that I can give back to a place that gave me so much. I wasn't sure what that role would look like if I were to come back one day. So I decided to apply for the athletic success coach position. Didn't really know what would happen. There's a lot of great people out there. So I didn't really want to announce that I was applying in case it didn't work out in my favor. But
I'm not talking about applying, Abbee. I'm talking about when they called you and said that the job was yours. I'm not expecting to be the first person called, but I shouldn't have to hear it from someone else.
I don't think I really announced it really anywhere outside of the people that I interviewed with.
Okay, fair enough. We will let that go.
I don't think so.
I just want to, let me say this.
Mm-hmm.
I promise I'll never say another word about it. I got my money's worth today. But Abbee, seriously, the one question I want to ask both of you is, what was it like to watch that video today?
Brought back memories, for sure.
It definitely, it did. And for me, it was emotional because I, and most people that know me, know how much I love the West Shore Connect program. And
you can continue to work with them
yes,
now.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I didn't even think about that.
It's amazing. I actually stopped by the other day to see them, but just to see where the program was at the time and the students that were involved, I had such a close relationship with. So to see them all move on and then to see where we were at the time was just amazing.
I will never forget, and maybe Dylan, you can help me remember this too. I remember when we were in a club meeting, we were talking about this, and you hadn't been with the club maybe more than one term,
No.
right? And we asked if anybody could help, and it was weird because we had like all day shoots on like 2 different weeks, and you raised your hand. You're like, "I'll come out, but I'm not really sure what I'll be doing." And I'm like, "Look, we will figure it out." And you came, and not only did you have a great rapport with the people already, which was one of the greatest parts of it, you helped keep that day moving.
Oh, for
because
sure.
we had like 10, 12 interviews that we had to do. You kept it going, and it was like you'd been doing this all your life. And that's the one thing that in hindsight, I hope that at a minimum you can take away from this is who cares if you know what you're doing? Just go in there and give your best and act like you know what you're doing, and you're going to be just fine. And you proved that. Let me ask you this. Do you feel that that experience helped give you some additional confidence that allowed you to take the next step with the Nightly News?
It definitely helped me in many ways. Through the West Shore Connect, I've definitely gained a lot of perspective on what I wanted to do with my life, but also through the Nightly News, stepping into that position, definitely fully aware that I had no idea what I was doing, but willing to figure it out. It's funny, I've actually told people the same thing about me stepping into photography. I obviously had big shoes to fill with Dylan graduating, and I would tell people, I'm not Dylan.
No,
But-
in fairness, you want to talk about big. There's huge shoes to fill.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you're now not Abbee.
They seem
Right.
filled to me.
And now when Noah is out there, he's going to say, "I'm not Abbee." Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
That is kind of the legacy of like an
It
artist
is.
taking over after someone
Right.
else, because like there's already a standard in that person's mind of what everyone expects.
Right.
But I would say that, like, again, you have filled these shoes for sure. And I think, going after Jen, if I remember correctly, didn't she do some photography for sports and stuff as well? Or not quite.
I want to say that you were one of the original photographers that we
Really?
had.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was unaware of that, but yeah.
So let me ask you. So I know that we don't just sit around and watch the West Shore Connect PSA video all the time, right?
It's been a while. You said that it had been a while for you too.
So what was it like to watch that? I mean, you were so instrumental. I mean, we all were. We all had our own parts. And that's the thing that when I think back about it, I mean, we each played our own part to perfection.
Right.
What was it like for you to watch that? What memories did it stir up?
So as the filmmaker, if you will, in the like editing process and stuff, whenever I watch a video after a long time of not having watched it, I always flash back, as weird as it sounds, to the editing process, because I would rewatch the same clips over and over and over and over again. So I was thinking about how the editing process went, and those lines, I don't have them all memorized, of course, but the lines that people would say, the testimonies given, those things come back to me. And I remember watching those while I was editing it, and it was just really heart-touching. And, being able to watch it again after all this time, it was really cool to see that again.
It means so much to me. And I shared this with you guys. You know, listeners may know that I have a special needs son who is, interestingly enough, right around Addie's age. And to see what the program has become, it's almost like in the same way we did it the first year. And since then, 2022, I can't believe it's been that long. In the last literally 3 years, the program has grown by leaps and bounds. And I will do you one better than that. The West Shore Connect program has had multiple students after Addie join the club. Elijah Hoon came in after Addie and has written a 3-part series about different memorials around campus.
Nice.
It's
Amazing.
incredible. And now we have 3 new members from the West Shore Connect program in the Nightly News. I just can't even put into words. But, and I know Abbee knows this because she came out one day, Addie is now in Challenger baseball with me, and he
Yes.
loves
Amazing.
it. So I still get to see Addie all the time.
He's
and
very photogenic when I'm
he
doing the
is
photos.
hilarious. And of
is the
course,
best.
Dylan also does come out and does photography for the Challenger baseball program as well. So I got to tell you, like, that whole thing, when you look back at that video, and all it came from was just a simple email from Miss B. Can you guys do a video?
Yep.
It was my opportunity to get to work side by side with Dylan, with Abbee, with Jen. In a way, I kind of felt bad because we were going through all of this, and Andrew, he wasn't here yet, in
Right,
fairness.
right.
Like, I'm
Right.
sure if he was, he probably
Oh,
would
for
have been
sure.
involved somehow. But I got to tell you, like, I felt really bad because I didn't want to exclude him,
Right.
but it was something that we'd all done together. And again, you know, Jen was in her final days here.
That's true.
I mean, literally, I think you were here like another term or two after her.
Yeah, it was Abbee. I think came in only like a term or two after me too.
Right.
So we were both pretty new for
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
And I'll tell you that, anyway, I don't want to belabor this point because we only have a limited time here, but it just, as I watch back, it's just like, it's unbelievable to see, just even in the last couple of years, how far you two and Jen have come beyond this. I mean, Jen is like this big time producer.
Yeah.
You know, Dylan, you have an amazing job, but you're also still involved with what we do here. Abbee, you're back here. You're going to continue to do some work for us. So, I mean, it means so much, and it meant so much to me at the time, but I didn't even realize the impact that it was going to have on me personally going forward. So, again, I just want to thank you for that time. You know, what I felt was really interesting today is the emotion that came along with it. Now, both of you held it together pretty well. Definitely saw some tears from some. I almost teared up a couple different times. The first time was when we talked about Nasir. And I know that you guys didn't really have the chance to get to know Nasir. He was a little bit before your time. But you've sat in the Nasir Harris podcast studio a number of times, and just to revisit him and revisit the documentary that the folks before you made and we shared with his family, and you know, just I will never. One of the most vivid memories of my life is when I got to sit down with his family after the event when we inducted him into the Hall of Fame. And I mentioned this today. That they said we literally had no idea about any of this because he was a very private. He was a quiet.
Sure.
guy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he was also very humble, and he never like tooted his own horn. But his mom pulled me aside, and she's like, you know, I never heard any of these stories. So it was an emotional day. When you think about it, Dylan, and so many people brought it up, you were only here for a short period of time.
Right.
How in the world were you able to do all of the things that you did
I have
in
no
such a short
idea.
period of time?
That's what I was saying when I made a couple words at the end there before getting the award. It is strange because having transferred from Hack and coming here, like I said, I didn't know that I would have time for any of that kind of stuff, especially not even if I immediately started. I feel like I wouldn't have really gotten very far because it's like, all right, you're in and now you're out. And it was amazing that you and Professor Olympi were able to get me into so many opportunities that led to this.
I wonder if we don't remember that it was such a short time because you really just never left. I mean, basically, as soon as you were done, you've still come back and you still continue to do baseball and basketball photography as it works with your schedule. And of course, we do have others that you know step in when you're not available.
Sure.
But I mean, maybe that's just part of it. Like, I don't even stop and think about you only being here for a year and a half because it's almost
It's like I'm still here.
You're
Yeah.
still here. You're still here.
Which I didn't get to say anything during, and I wanted to, but it is such an honor that you guys are so willing to have me back, even after having left the college, because that's not really, at least in my experience, very common to have someone come back over and over to the college unless they work there.
You're saying that like you left and then came back. You never left is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
you never actually had the opportunity to leave
Sure.
for long enough for us
But
to
it
miss
is an
you.
honor and a pleasure.
Listen, one of the toughest things that we have to do is to decide the Hall of Fame class, right?
Right.
There are many, many, many people who are certainly worthy. It's not just necessarily about what you do when you're here. It's also about the things that you do after you leave. I mean, for instance, absolutely 100% Jen belongs in the Hall of Fame. But if you look at her resume since,
Oh, yeah.
she has been, did this huge spread in the Berg. She was on Fox 43. The same with you, Dylan. It's not just that your contribution that you made when you were here. You then went on to present at the film series twice.
Right.
You then continue to take photos, and I mean world-class photos.
Yeah.
So it's not just about, hey, I did this when I was a student. It's like, I'm still a part of the nightly news.
Right, yeah.
And Abbee, the same with you. I mean, even last summer, because you graduated last spring, and you've done photo for us multiple times. You're going to come back and do some photo for us now back in your new position. I mean, it's not just about like what you did when you were here. Although, in fairness, you came in right as a freshman. You probably had one of the longest tenures as a president, which is part of the reason that you were on 14 podcasts and on the cover of 5 publications, because you were, in fairness, here for like 3 years. When you first heard about this, we kind of heard Dylan's story. When you first heard about the nightly news, what was it about what we did that really you wanted to gravitate towards that and become a part of what we're doing?
I have always valued, and I've said it before, but I've always valued the stories behind the way things are and the way people are. I don't believe that you can pass someone and know their entire story and who they are and what they have to offer the world. Sometimes maybe they don't even realize it, but something about being in journalism and being in a small college and having that community feel and being able to share that community feel. Obviously, I had other things that I was passionate about that I wanted people to hear about. The West Shore Connect being one, but definitely just having those stories to tell. And what I think some people may not realize is how much Central Penn has to tell. There's a long history for the college. That's one of the things that I like to tell everybody is the story on the bridge and how the bridge got here and how much we paid for it. And
I found some photos of that too you might be interested in seeing.
I
Oh,
would
really?
love that.
Yeah, really good stuff.
Nice.
But it's just fascinating to see the different kind of phases the college has been through and seeing the pictures of it off Market Street in Harrisburg to seeing the campus we have today in Enola. We
can still call it Summerdale. It's okay.
it's amazing to see.
Abbee, well, I think what's interesting, and I don't know if you drew this parallel, but Jen and yourself have a very, very similar path to how you ended up here today. She came in a PTA student, realized her passion, realized that physical therapy assisting was not that. You came in accounting. You realized very quickly this was not your passion. You found communication because of the ability to explore the creativity. Of course, you love to help people. You love being involved with nonprofit. I mean, even before you joined the club, you were a West Shore Connect mentor.
Yes.
So you knew immediately, well, I don't want to say immediately, you knew that the path that you were on wasn't right for you, and we are so glad that both you and Jen found a home with communication. And, I made this point earlier on the previous episode. So for listeners out there, I apologize, I'm repeating myself. Today was unlike any previous celebration, induction ceremony that we've ever had. Because this time it was 10 years. This time it was reflection. This time it was and I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm going to, my favorite students that I've ever had. All of you have had an impact on my life. And in the same way, all of you were so complimentary of myself and Professor Olympi, even though I'm sure there were times that you cursed me behind my back.
I don't think so.
No.
Oh,
No.
okay, I'll believe you. But no, of course I'm kidding. My point is without you and, the other Hall of Famers, I am not here where I am. You helped catapult me to have a purpose here and to become who I am today. Without that, I who knows what happens. If the nightly news never starts, who knows if I'm, maybe moved on somewhere else or I'm doing something different. It was because of you that I'm sitting here today. You might look at me and say, well, it's because of you that I'm sitting here today.
Yeah.
And I say right back to you that without you, I don't know if I am here. And as I look around and I see our Club of the Year awards, these are your awards. The PNA awards, Dylan, I know that you've won a couple of those, and Leslie Heimbaugh has won a couple of those, and Jen has won a couple of those. They're your awards, but they mean so much to us. Because as Professor Olympi always says, we're competing against schools with 10,000 people or less in journalism departments.
Yeah.
And the
Right.
fact that we, with about 1,000 students and a corporate communication department, have been able to be so successful, it's just a testament to you and your drive and your dedication. And again, I can't thank you enough both for being you. And I appreciate all the kind words that you've said to me. I need to give them right back to you because I am not here. I am not Dr. Miller, and I know I close with this, without you. And I just want to thank you so much for everything that you've done and will continue to do in the future.
Absolutely.
So I have one final question here, and this was one that Professor Olympi sort of rapid fire the last time. What was the most important memory that you've had? And then you can use the word important loosely and however you want to interpret that. But as you think back to your time with the Nightly News, what was the most, let's just say, what's the most vivid memory that you have of our time together? Not just us, but you and the club.
Oh man, there's so many.
You're putting us on the
there's-
spot here.
I am.
There's a lot of memories.
This is how podcasts work.
It's obviously the West Shore Connect PSA is up there in the list of things for me.
Yeah.
Just from seeing the students' reaction coming back the next term and new students being involved, and
And that was one of our earlier projects too,
Yeah.
so that definitely sticks in the mind.
it definitely sticks out. And then I think one thing that I never imagined myself doing was the sideline reporting.
And you were awesome at that. I still look back and I'm like, you acted like you'd done it forever.
And I definitely did not know what I was doing then either. But those are just the ways that I figured out what I can do and things that I was able to figure out, which I think, again, boosts the confidence that maybe I didn't have before. So I think that those definitely stick out. And, of course, having Addie by my side in the Nightly News, absolutely loved that. He was the biggest advocate for the Nightly News, and I will always be grateful.
And one of the most important days that I can remember is when I got to show him the cover page that he was on. He wrote a really cool story before he was leaving, and he got to be on the cover. And
Nice.
my gosh, I think he teared up.
He was
I'll never forget that.
amazing.
That means a lot.
Dylan, same
There are-
question.
like she said, there's so many moments. I would say, and this may be because it's like you said, it's bleeding over into the present more. But I would have to say probably the photography for everything, but mainly the sports stuff, because not only were you both there at most of these things, calling the games, doing other photography, Abbee did, but also just how many that there were and how they were always in so many of our publications at the time. I'd say that probably is my most vivid memory, if you will.
Mine with you is when we went to the PNA Awards.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
So what happened was, I think it was the year you got first. I'm
Yes.
positive it was the year you got first. They have a little banquet for the winners,
Right.
and so Michael, Lear Limpy, and myself and Dylan went over, and it was so cool. It was at WITF, and their facility is really awesome. They had tours and the whole 9 yards, nice lunch for us.
Very impressive.
And it was something because we had won some honorable mentions before. We never won first.
Yeah.
And even the next year with the picture of Angel Mercado,
Right.
how I want to see who got first.
I do too.
Because
yeah.
how
Me too.
in the world, frankly, no disrespect, I think the one of Angel was better than the first place one, if that's even
Sure.
possible.
There was just
It was
so
such a
many
moment.
Yeah, there were so many elements that were there that are just impossible to capture. You
Yeah.
have the person running, you have the first baseman in the air, you have the ball in the air,
Yeah.
not in the glove. There's just so many elements that you have to be there in the moment, and you
For
have
sure.
to be able to guess when that moment's going to happen,
Yeah.
which is very difficult.
And beyond that, Dylan, beyond the PNA Awards, the 1B is when you presented Vintage at the film series,
That's
and you
true.
were doing
That was also a big
you were
one.
doing your autograph signings. My gosh, it was. I mean, I'm just so proud of both of you. And I
Appreciate
hope
that.
that in some way that today was validation for all of your hard work. And just remember that you're always going to be a Hall of Famer, and you're always going to be expected to come back to campus every other homecoming to help celebrate the new crop of
You're stuck
Hall of
with
Famers.
me. You're stuck.
Well, we'll take it. Well, any final thoughts, Abbee?
I just am so appreciative of my experience through the nightly news, getting me out of my shell in ways that I didn't think were ever going to happen. I mentioned today that I was definitely a back of the class. Don't acknowledge me. Don't, the very behind the scenes type of person. And obviously, like I said today, it did not work out, but it worked out in my favor. I think the best that I could have imagined it to. So I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Any final thoughts, Dylan?
I would just say that it is not only such an honor to have received this award and have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, but also to, again, be able to continue this journey with all of you. It's such a pleasure, and you're all my friends. I really do appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to more adventures for years to come.
We're looking forward to seeing basketball, and we got to get you back to the new film series when your new film is ready. So, or we can even film the rescored version of Vintage, whichever you want to do. So we'll have to talk about that when we go to dinner. All right. Well, listen, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. I want to thank Nightly News Hall of Famer Abbee Breski. That will be forever what you will be referred to from now on. You should put it in your email signature, by the way.
I will add
Yes.
But Abbee, as always, it's such a pleasure to have you on, and we'll look forward to having you back next term. Talk about some cool events in 2026.
all of the fun things planned, but I appreciate you having me.
Of course. And Dylan, what else is there to say? But it's my pleasure to get to work with you. And every time I see you walk in that gym or in the field, I get a big smile on my face because I know it's going to be an amazing night that's going to be captured by a wonderful man.
Well, thank you, Paul.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode on the Nightly News Podcast. It's been my pleasure to have Nightly News Hall of Famers Abbee Breski and Dylan Bowman. But alas, our time has run out, and we'll see you again next time on the Nightly News Podcast.